Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Well, I guess it was just too much to hope for. But no deal, in principle or otherwise, has been reached in negotiations between the Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua camps. And now the camps, they won't be meeting to thrash out a deal. No meetings. Ultra quick recap. So this week we've had an audacious $50 million counter-offer made by Deontay Wilder to Anthony Joshua. A 24-hour deadline to accept, and that's come and gone. And now a refusal from Team Wilder to meet with Eddie Hearn because it wants a yes or a no before sitting down to discuss details.
Yes or no?
We have an impasse. If you want to hear more on all that, I've done a couple of videos in recent days and covered all the different developments, and it really has been a fast-moving situation, so check it out if you want some of the backstory. Okay, so what I want to focus on in this video is the major talking point in the past 24 hours, and that's been the refusal of Team Wilder to meet with Eddie Hearn. As I've pointed out previously, that decision, it's a bit of a misstep in my view, and here's why. Initially, Team Wilder, they set a very strong narrative in the media. They had real momentum with the counter-offer, and that was based on Joshua's previous comment of saying he'd take $50 million up front. It was a real power move by Deontay Wilder and team, as was the take it or leave it deadline. Deontay Wilder and co., they were acting like A-side. It was an A-side move. They were trying to wrestle the fight away, control of the fight, bring it to America, and have it on their terms. But with the deadline having come and gone, we've now got a refusal to sit around a table. And that's not a good look. And I believe it's now hurting Deontay Wilder and his team, as it's serving to provide Eddie Hearn fodder to sound off in the media. That's the issue. Give Eddie Hearn an inch and he will take a mile. And he has been, as his statement to BoxingScene.com demonstrates. So he says, "It's all very bizarre. I returned the email of Deontay Wilder and said, we're very interested in making this fight. Please send us a draft contract." He replied and said, "You have to accept the fight and then we will send you the contract." I've never known anything so bizarre since I've worked in boxing. I had a meeting with Shelley Finkel scheduled for Thursday. He cancelled that meeting. I requested a meeting for Friday, and he emailed me while also emailing the entire press world, saying there is no point in meeting, it would be non-productive. We have to accept the deal first. It's always nice to call someone's bluff. What we've done is call their bluff here, and they won't even meet to talk about the deal. We've asked for a meeting to try and talk about the offer. They rejected it. We asked for a contract. They rejected it. I don't know what more we can do. We can continue trying. In a separate story, Eddie Hearn is quoted as saying, "And why is Dominic Breazeale coming out saying he's been told that he's fighting Deontay Wilder? How can you take these people seriously when all they want to do is talk on social media? Deals are not made on Instagram. Deals are made in the boardroom. How can you make a deal on Instagram? Weird, weird. I don't want to talk about the contracts and negotiations. They have. Negotiations are ongoing. I'm talking to Al Heyman. I've had 2 conversations with Showtime. I think the fight will get made, but don't listen to the bullshit. Don't listen to the bluff. I think Showtime wants it in November based on talking with them. We want it in the UK. Our offer is based on a UK fight. If you want the money, you can have it wired into your account today. But their offer is based on finding where they can get the most money. Fine, just let us know where. They obviously know that we can't just accept an offer without any paperwork. When it started off, it was quite clever. But I think people can now see it's bullshit." And that was Eddie Hearn's statement. Okay, so quite a bit to unpack there. Is it really unfair of Hearn to ask for a sit down, to work through some of the detail? I don't think so. It would have actually been in Team Wilder's interest to accommodate a meeting since Hearn was in town. and also because they, up until that point, they had momentum with them, as I've already explained earlier. Simply put, agreeing to a meeting and going through the detail, it would have helped also to shut down some of the noise that the offer was nothing but a bluff. They don't want to hear people saying that. Finkel's come out and tried to counter it. But that talk, it's now gone into overdrive from Anthony Joshua fans in particular since the negotiations have stalled. I've seen it in my comment section ad nauseum, and I've seen it elsewhere. It is everywhere. People are willingly jumping onto the bandwagon saying, yep, it was a fake deal. I actually think that Al Heyman and Shelley Finkel are smarter than that, and the deal was real. But if they're not going to sit down with Eddie Hearn, it's not a good look. And regardless on the respective positions fans have been taking on the yes or no ultimatum part, it's in the interest of Team Wilder and Team Joshua to get in a room here, face to face, work out a deal. And that's even if the $50 million counter offer is off the table, or if something else is on the horizon, something else is in play. They can't hope to set up the super fight by repeatedly taking swipes at each other and trying to score points in the media and through social media. It really has devolved into a tit-for-tat scenario. It's all getting a bit petty, it's all getting a bit tiresome. And as I've said in the past couple of weeks, it's been quite clear both sides are desperate. They are desperately trying to position themselves as the ones who've been doing everything in their power to get a deal done. Ultimately, it'll be over to you as a fan about how you feel if this thing falls over, if it goes sideways, and that we're left with the prospect of Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua facing other opponents. We mustn't forget Alexander Povetkin. He's looming. He's on the sidelines here as Anthony Joshua's challenger, mandatory challenger, and a purse bid, it has been called. That is due to be held in a couple of weeks. So, you know, if they can't get a deal done, that will just occur and it'll be all she wrote. And on the other side, Dominic Breazeale, Wilder's new mandatory challenger. He's also saying on social media he's on standby to potentially fight Wilder if negotiations fail. And I have seen a number of fans that are resigned to the fact that Undisputed's not happening, that the fight's not happening next. But I'm going to maintain for now some hope, because simply put, there's a huge amount of money involved. Whatever the amount, it's going to be significant, and when huge amounts of money are involved and huge amounts of money are to be made, it tends to focus minds because everyone wants their cut. They want to line their pockets. I mean, one of the interesting points as well, just from Eddie Hearn's statements, was Showtime's raised the possibility of having the fight later in the year, possibly November. I can only assume that part of that is so that they can build the fight over a period of months in an attempt to maximize pay-per-view revenue. Obviously, they want to make a lot of sales, and something they'd be very keen to do, and they want to build that fight over time. So potentially, they're thinking of some sort of press tour, you would imagine. But building on that, Hearn also mentioned that the Wilder offer is based on finding where they can get the most money. And potentially, that could still mean the UK. But at that time of year, is it going to work? Are stadiums going to be available? Cardiff, for example, is a busy closed-roof stadium, especially in the rugby season. And would it be too cold by then for an open-air event somewhere like Wembley or elsewhere? I'd be very interested in thoughts from UK-based people on this. But if it's in the States, I mean, Vegas is probably the obvious first choice. But is somewhere like a Madison Square Garden or the Barclays, are they dark horses in this race as well? I guess it depends on where the most money can be made. I mean, Vegas would seem to be the obvious choice for the United States, but, you know, perhaps, somewhere else could work as well. I'll try not to get ahead of myself, though, but the key thing now, dialogue. And the respective sides, they seriously have got to swallow their knobs and egos and try to piece something together that works. No side will ever be completely happy, I'm sure. Mostly happy is probably what they're going to have to settle for and what's more realistic. But if they don't reach that quickly, the opportunity will slip away. Let's hope it doesn't. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.